Time to hit social media for cash tags. For that, we'd like to welcome in Andy Swan, the co-founder of LikeFolio.com, and we have Jenny Horn with us as well to talk some Costco ahead of their earnings. Jenny, this has been an incredible story in terms of its ability to perform in this retail environment that's been ridden by winners and losers.
Oh, I was just going to say, this is such an environment of very clear winners and losers, of course, as this year wraps up and now earnings season wraps up, it becomes even more clear, of course, who the winners and losers have been in this space. And we often group Costco with the winners in like a Target, a Walmart, and Amazon, because they've really done a good job shifting to e-commerce, really targeting their customer. You're excited about Costco, aren't you, Kevin? I can just
This is the polar opposite of yesterday's show, right? Three dudes and Jenny talking about Lululemon today. Now you're in my wheelhouse with Costco.
And see, Costco's
I am Costco. I'm big and ugly, and you kind of like me. So that's Costco in essence.
I believe that. So, Andy, what is your data telling us on Costco?
Yeah, you're right. You got to put Costco in the winners bucket. You know, what we see, we ran a little bit of a special research probe on this for the show, and really looking at the number of people talking about initiating a membership with Costco. Because remember, Costco reports their revenues on a monthly basis, and so normally going into earnings for Costco, it's a pretty muted event because a lot is already baked in. So long term, what we wanted to look at is the number of people, talking about initiating a new membership. That is very strong, up and to the right, at all-time highs right now. And really, just Costco's clicking on all cylinders. There's really no reason to think that this company won't have another great year in 2020.
You know, I think Costco is getting mature, Andy, right? And people are getting very comfortable with, not one little jar of pickles, but 1,800 pickles in a jar to eat, and people are just adjusting their lives to Costco, and they're getting, especially the Kirkland brand, I think has really gained notoriety as a quality brand that everyone now relies on and looks at as, as big of a consumer staple as some of the other more popular brands that you don't see. Kirkland, I think, has really, popped on the scene and been very popular.
Yeah, so you mentioned three dudes and me, but I'd say I love Kirkland. Kirkland's super cool, and Costco.
It is cool, Jenny. Remember that.
It's very cool, and I have to say, we mentioned e-commerce, Instacart has a really cool collaboration with Costco, which is how I order Costco. So I don't even pay a membership; I just order through Instacart. So I mean, which is pretty cool.
Oh, life hack. What did you call it?
Pro tip.
Pro tip, life hack. No. Squad goal. Which is that?
It's all of those when we're talking about Costco. But Andy, you mentioned, of course, this is doing, of course, really well. They're near all-time highs, but this is also a name that people are just as enthusiastic on Twitter as, of course, all four of us are. So our first tweet is from Ryan Davidson, who says, "Costco, you don't short this beast. This is loved by everyone. Everyone. You can live in this place. It's that good. I have no position." So do you see really positive consumer happiness? Because it seems like when I looked on Twitter this morning, at least, people really love this company.
Oh yeah, it's fantastic. It's one of the top retailers we have in terms of consumer sentiment. What's really interesting to me is their foray into e-commerce. It started really back, just a couple years ago in 2017. They added free same day, next day, or 2-day shipping, depending on where you live. I didn't really think that would be a big hit because, who doesn't love going into Costco? There's so many samples. There's like a $1.25 hot dog that's phenomenal. Kevin will back me up on this.
Of course.
It turns out people really like to order from Costco online, get it delivered. Like Jenny's talking about, she's using Instacart to do it. There's a lot of ways to do it, and others to just be a Costco member and make your purchases online, and they'll do the delivery for you. So, they're really doing a nice job of expanding their membership base and also getting more revenue per member by competing with Amazon in a really clean way.
Yeah, I have to say there's something really, really cool about getting like 100 paper towels delivered, but you never had to actually carry them. And then you're good for I live alone, so I'm good for the next year then. It's very, very cool. So our next tweet says, "Costco Weekly broke 50-day moving average on daily. Earnings Thursday after the bell. Good, we see some we see some new all-time highs. Bad, we get a 280 test. Let's see if 2019 Love Fest continues here. So is there any kind of fear, Kevin, when we look at a company that's at all-time highs, that it'll kind of react like Lulu? I mean, Lulu had arguably good earnings, but they just are getting killed today because they weren't perfect earnings.
Well, when you look at a name like Lulu that had run so far, Costco, you can make the case they're almost $10, $12, $15 off their highs. So you're not buying what seems like inflated numbers on Costco. It's actually come off. So this one has a different feel than Lululemon had. Lululemon was up, what did we say before on the show, 90% for the year to date?
89% year to date.
Right,
yeah.
that's hard to get on board there. Costco doesn't feel like it's as hard to get on board.
Costco's up 45% year to date,
Right.
so about half, you're right.
Right.
Yeah, Andy, it's only up 45% year to date. I want to come back to that first tweet. It says you don't short this beast. It's loved by everyone. And then it ends with, I have no position.
Yeah,
well,
he had me, then he lost me.
If you love it so much, why are you buying it? And I think is it starting to come down to this stock's just so elevated in terms of the performance it's had. Doesn't mean it can't go higher. Obviously, it's been higher in terms of stock price. I don't think anybody's arguing with how it's executing. Are you worried about that valuation at all?
I'm really not, because they're so transparent with their financials. Putting those out on a monthly basis, I think has really smoothed this stock out. It doesn't give the opportunity like a Lululemon has, where everything comes down to this enormous 3-month release in terms of how they're performing. So everybody pretty much knows how Costco's doing on a monthly basis. That doesn't lend itself well to the idea of I'm going to wait for a huge dip, because those huge dips are unlikely to happen just as much as huge spikes are unlikely to happen, because they're so transparent with their financials on such a regular basis. I think that really helps them, keep a pretty clean, pretty smooth stock chart. You can see, in terms of up and to the right, the biggest dips on this chart are not very big. And so, when someone like that tweeter is on there talking about they don't have a position in a company they love, part of the reason for that is that there's not many opportunities to get in on big dips. When the stock just kind of grinds its way. It's a creeper, like Kevin said, it's a creeper, and that one's we think it's just gonna keep on creeping.
I want to touch on a point that Andy just said, because in a world right now where transparency is falling out of favor, right, and Apple has stopped saying how many iPhones that they sell. Think about this, they basically put out an earnings report every month from Costco. So that's pretty fresh and new, and something that the rest of the corporate world is moving away from. Costco's getting more transparent.
And they move on those announcements.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you kind of have to think that's priced in a little bit here.
Yeah.
And so, Andy, as we kind of wrap this up here, obviously it's exposed to the consumer's strength. We know the consumer's been a huge part of this story for the last couple of years here. So all that aside, that's more of a long-term conversation. All else equal, it sounds like you like Costco longer term, but looking at just this earnings call, from what I'm hearing, since they're so transparent, is there maybe an opportunity that this is just kind of a non-event almost, even though there's a $9 move being priced in?
Yeah, I mean, a $9 move on a $300 stock is what, 3%?
3%, that's minimal.
Not very big. I think
Right.
that's probably about right. Look, I think you have to tighten your windows when you're looking at a company like Costco. If you're looking to get in on dips, you have to be looking for 3 to 5% dips. You're not going to get 20 or 30% moves overnight, generally speaking, on this name. And so that's just something you got to look at. When you look at stocks, you got to understand the volatility of the underlying in order to understand what a big move is for you to get a position entered into. Going into this earnings, really, I think the company's doing very well. I think that they'll have a pretty good outlook going into 2020. I don't see any real major concerns other than the fact the stock's at $300.
Andy, hey, great insight as always. We'll find out what happens when they report after the close. Jenny, thanks for the life hack about Instacart and Costco.
She always brings something different.
No, it's good to know. I didn't know that, so I'm glad I know that now.